Good morning, Ramble Force. Day 3 at CEDIA Expo. I'm Kris Gamble.
And I'm JJ Keenan. Ramblers, thanks for joining us again. And man, Gamble, has it been a fantastic expo so far?
It's really only starting today, but it feels like we've already been in the start of a marathon. So it's going to be a long week for us. We really appreciate the support we've had from you guys. The shout outs later at the end of the show. Look out for a shout out. You may get one. If you want one, obviously get in touch with the show. Breakfast show, day 3. We've got another guest with us. We had an amazing show yesterday with a rising CEDIA icon, but
Amanda Wildman.
Today we have a genuine CEDIA icon here with us today. We have Frank White.
Hey Frank, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks you guys for having me. I love the show. I love the kind of the new and freshness of it, and I love your enthusiasm, your take, and the passion you guys have for your clients. And you know, our industry could be blamed about being pretty haphazard about clients' budgets or about the economy or whatever that is. And you guys wring so much out of every penny for every client. It's amazing to hear that.
Well, thank you. And that's what we're trying to communicate, is the value that a home technology professional can add, and the education that a majority of our industry is investing in. And that's why we're here at CEDIA Expo. And Frank, if you could, please give our audience an introduction of who you are. And I mean, friends, this is truly an icon, a founding father of CEDIA. And Frank, please let our audience.
So the technology at home world kind of came out of a couple of phenomena. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, people only had one television, and they were really bought as furniture.
Right.
And then it got too expensive to have the televisions fixed. The technologies on building printed circuit cards and everything else, it made it almost impossible for a technician to come out to your house like 77, 78 to 80-ish to fix your TV. Now that's not even heard of. Everybody, the TVs you buy are disposable,
right?
And they just work,
right? Yeah.
Right. But the thing is that in order to get the kind of picture that you get, and the fluidity and the depth and the colorimetry and the sense that you get, did not come at a cheap price, but because of the volume and the scale that it is today, you can buy a 50-inch 4K display to put in your bedroom or to put in your garage for less money than I paid for my first 26-inch CRT type TV at Montgomery Ward.
Yeah.
So the and I don't know what the inflation is, but the $246, if we dissolve that down to what it was back in 1975, okay, that probably was about $85 for the TV set, right? So the consumer dollar in the technology really goes far. Right? But the problem is that in and of itself, even back then, a TV doesn't work unless it's in a community of other things. It doesn't work unless there's a source. Right? So you have a satellite box, you've got a wonderful relationship with your cable company, Hope. You've got an incredible choice now of streaming out there, and this new phenomenon of cutting your financial relationship with the cable company on subscription TV and putting up an antenna, right? And I did that in 1986 or in 2006. I went as a cord cutter, and in LA where I live, I get 183 free off-air channels, uncompressed.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that TV antenna's been on my house now since then, and I haven't touched it. It just works.
Tell us, Frank, about your job role today. What is your role within our industry? We see you everywhere, every show, every industry gathering. We see you're an active blogger. We see you on social media. What's the role today for Frank White?
So I'm in the twilight of my, of my career here, and you guys are kind of still, and you're finding third or fourth year, and you're also finding that, navigating the waters.
I keep stalling.
Yeah. So, I don't call in addicts anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love to interact with exceptionally visionary, smart, fun-loving people. And I think this whole thing started with guys like you that would take stuff out of the commercial world and out of the consumer electronic world, and then be able to put it together and then to lay it, overlay it inside a home of a lifestyle of your clients, right? Where it gets absorbed. It's not obtrusive looking.
Right.
It doesn't scream, this is what I'm about. Now, we can do that if you want, but it really just is operating in the way that we flip from your second screening position with your, with your tablet or your iPhone or whatever it is, to interacting with, the football score, the football game on the main screen and back and forth, and all those signals work, and you get to check your emails and get to check on, maybe you want to FaceTime with your mom or dad and go back to the football score, and you're switching that at a much greater frequency than we ever dreamed about.
Right.
So you guys are living this Jetson lifestyle that we never dreamed. You kind of are forging forward on that.
You mentioned a word earlier, the source. Now we're dealing with dozens of sources.
Right.
And that's a real management task.
Yes.
And sources aren't necessarily just for watching television or entertainment, but a source could be for security.
Absolutely.
As well, or management of your property as a whole.
Right.
As a source that you can actually physically see either on your television or even on the countertop or in the wall.
Right.
So you can, it's a variety, and that's what the power of a CEDIA professional, an organization that you truly helped found, and you're being a little humble. You're being, I mean, you really create an organization that has.
So let's kind of push the pause here, okay? And
all right.
back then, where we got our information was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And then the Infocom show.
Yeah.
And then we would go to the National Systems Contractor show. And those are commercial shows that would have, those shows really focus on setting up systems in stadiums or campus-wide systems on universities and huge campuses. And then churches started getting involved with more media and having to have sound reinforcement. And at the same time, we kind of transitioned from a choir and an organ to having, worship bands and the more contemporary types of music. And then obviously the sporting bar, or the sports bar and club atmosphere, those became more sophisticated, and they required somebody. But the guys that were working on stadium or on broadcast centers looked at that sports bar owner and kind of just said that's toys. And it isn't.
Right. You
go into some of those and it's beautiful, right? We're here in a commercial building here. We're in the Sheraton in downtown Denver. And I can bet you guys that the TV picture that you're looking at on this in your house is better than the one I have in the room here. And so what was commercial was really considered the high end, and then the consumer was less. Because the integrator got involved, that really pushed the manufacturers to do better at creating a more stable, more predictive environment for the buyer. So you guys took that and took it into the home, and then you cleaned up the wire, you dressed it, you hung it on the wall, and you hid the cables in the wall and everything. And so that involved a mount, and choosing the right mount is a huge deal. You don't want your 60-inch display 3 inches or 4 inches off the wall. It creates a big vacuum back there. And so to dress that elegantly isn't initially intuitive.
Right.
And so getting somebody in early, and if you can trust them,
right, to
help, a lot of times you're sitting there saying, man, JJ, how much is that, how much is one of those flat screens? The display business is really, really horrible. We don't get it. Best Buy and the big retailers, they buy this by the trainload. You guys buy your clients specifically for them.
Right. It's
right?
Custom tailored, chosen just for them and for their environment.
But there's so many more things that come into it, because you guys walk in, and the first things, I know you guys, all of us, you walk in and you're looking, where are the sight lines? Where's the windows? And people don't watch television much at 5:30 a.m. And so it's not the eastern side windows that we're afraid of.
Sure.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
west side.
Right. And so they're looking at for you, and realize that having one of these guys on your job, that's their responsibility. And so they really have more of a consultative position than buy this now or I got to kill you. You know, the buying pressure is not there, right?
Yeah. So the growth started to build. There started to be a movement building that there needed to be an association for the professionals working in the home.
So what happened? What really cooked our goose was that the suppliers and the distributors out there would look at a guy like, you know, like you were, and you didn't at that time have a retail footprint, right? You didn't have a demonstration area. You had an industrial shop where you assembled systems, and they would look at that and say, that's not a real guy. So we had a very significant challenge to wake up the supply channels that this distribution choice was viable and that we would do a better job than the retailers have. Of course, none of those retailers are around anymore, except maybe in the UK. But,
Possibly, yeah.
yeah, on the high streets over there. But, you know, over here, all of those hi-fi shops that we had in the 60s and 70s, they're gone. Right? And the significant rise of the integration channel, of which all of us are, right? So we probably have, what, maybe 3 generations of them here, right? Is that every gear supplier out there, every manufacturer now sees these guys as a significant portion of their distribution channel, and they have engineering teams that engineer products specifically for us to go in, because they know that the type of people that CEDIA attracts are technically driven, that are also elegantly expressive in the way that they install or you install for your clients, right? But back then, we take that for granted now, but back then that was a huge contention, a huge contention. And so, you know, there's some old dogs walking around here like Ty Meyer or, you know, Bill Anderson. He passed on a few years ago, but you know, he had Genesis Audio started out as a retail hi-fi shop, and he was able to keep up with the times and transition into being an integration company. But there were probably, for every guy like that, there's probably 50 that just, they refused to change, and didn't. So once we had that first show, we had, I think we had probably about 30 vendors, right? And almost all of them were unrecognizable except for Sony. Sony came, and we really felt we had made it, you know, and realizes that this is just us sitting around self-financing this.
Right.
Okay, now I was a supplier back then, and we were one of the original multi-room guys, and that was our anthem, that was our evangelism, because televisions became so cheap. You put one in the bedroom, and maybe you put one in the garage, and one in the dining room or study area or library, and so the televisions just, you know, the consumption and the absorption just exploded into what we have today.
Right.
And so getting that signal around is not intuitive. And so when a buyer comes to you and they ask you for a TV in the master bedroom, they're not thinking, what's the cabling interconnect? And here's the science of this. If I have a source component like a satellite box or a DVD player, and then I have a really nice Sony, let's call it a 65-inch LCD. If I increase the distance, meaning the distance of the electronic cable, there's no engineering argument that's going to say that my television display got more accurate to the source component. And so what you guys understand almost inherently in the first kind of few years you were in this, you researched that and knew what you could rely on and what you couldn't.
Right.
And many of your clients have had, you know, very poor performance when they try to do that, and then they're sitting there saying, like, everything I did made sense, but what happened? Yeah. Right? And that's that failure and that frustration then carries over into how you utilize it in a handicap sheet.
Right.
Right? Is that if you have a poor streaming experience, or if it's, you know, it's glitchy, or you elect to do something else.
Right.
Right? And so these guys coming in, they can look at this environment and they have the tools and test gear and ways to measure your specific position, that's invaluable.
Right, absolutely. And so Frank, as well as a few of your friends, started CEDIA 30 years ago.
Yes.
And it was an idea of bringing manufacturers together to create high performance systems for homeowners.
Right. But the challenge we had, if I'm Canon and Gamble, the problem we had, we didn't have a way to buy it. So we would essentially today go into Costco or go into Best buy it retail, and then somehow be able to make it work with our labor.
Right.
Because that was the only way we could get it.
Frank, this is happening today.
I know. It's
We are
like
being,
exactly.
I'm
we're
being
reliving.
supplied by Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm being supplied by a big box store on the edge of town because I've got quick access to products that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
The Nests, the Sonos, the Ring.
Our
Logitech.
Fab Five.
Yeah.
For
We're
things
picking
that
those
are right for
products
us.
up.
But at least Lutron is talking to you.
Oh,
Of course, yeah.
And they give us a decent way to get access to all of the technology that they have. Because you can buy Lutron at Home Depot, you can buy it at Lowe's,
Yeah.
you can buy it off Amazon, but it doesn't come with any of the technical specs or how do I bring better performance, program it, right, and all of that. And they invest in us and they invest in training us on their gear to understand how the system's meant to go together, how to make it the most stable. Right. And most do-it-yourselfers don't have the tolerance to sit down and go through what is exceptionally dry material to try to absorb it for the outcome that you get.
And this is what the Expo has become for our industry. This is where your home technology professional comes to prepare for the year ahead and even the decade ahead. There's a lot of future thinking happening at this Expo, future trends being recognized and plotted to how we were going to tackle that and deliver it to your home. The Expo has grown in size. You talked about 30
Suppliers
vendors then.
and
Now we're
total
looking at 500 this
total number of people, including vendors, was 273.
And
in
this
Amelia
year-
Island.
And that was a W.
Yeah.
And that was a huge win. We literally were walking around going, guys, there's all these people just like me. Right. But understand is that you're here, and this is an incredible blast because we're into this. But ultimately, if you distill all of this down, and on Saturday when those planes are just packed and people are tired and they're dragging, this is all an investment that you're doing for your clients right now.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And although it's fun because we're into this, it is work.
Yeah.
And the expense to get here, to put this on, this is an investment in your clients, future, future use and interacting with their world.
Well, the quality of the systems that the integrators, the home technology professionals are providing for their clients is a lot of it is founded and based out of CEDIA education, CEDIA awareness, having courses. I remember there was a major challenge in our business when networking was coming into our industry. And it was something that I was like, oh man, I never want to ever terminate, RJ45.
Telephone line.
I never want to do that. And then, it's one of those things that your arms are twisted into, or learn about the network with the IP addresses. And it was just so frustrating trying to set up access points throughout the house. And why doesn't it work? It should just plug in and work. And it didn't. And not until I actually took the CEDIA courses on how to do networking correctly and what the IP addresses meant and how to set them up, I didn't see success until after those courses. And I brought my team with me. They went through the courses, and it improved the quality of service that I was able to provide my clients, reduced the pain that we were seeing as a business out in the field, as well as the pain that my clients were having not being able to connect to the network, which was
In a reliable way.
in a reliable way, which was new. And I guess this was maybe 7 years ago, something like that. And in taking the educational courses in networking alone has greatly added value to our business.
I think that's where you and I first met.
No, it was back in 2004.
You were taking was that a course that we were taking?
It was CEDIA certification.
Oh, that was really dry material, dude.
You're so humble. This man is the reason that I came back the next year, because it was so exciting. And it was a classroom full of other people that were like me. And whenever I showed up, I was just in awe of like, wow, I am not the only guy struggling,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out, and there's a lot of other value that CEDIA adds other than the expo and the ad manufacturers. The classes and the courses are incredible. But I'm part of a CEDIA group of other integrators, and we get together on a monthly basis to discuss business challenges, business successes, what works, what fails. And because as a business owner, and I don't know if other industries are like this, I have a feeling that most of them are not, but sometimes you feel like you're on an island, as an entrepreneur, like I'm the only one with certain challenges. And I love this industry. I really do. I'm passionate about this industry. And it's because of the people like Frank and everybody else that I have in Gamble, who is in London, for goodness sakes, and we talk on a daily basis.
I want to hear about the first date you guys had. My gosh.
It was like on Tinder kind of relationship.
I opened an edition of CE Pro and I saw his face. I read about this Logitech story of volume and a shift away from what I'd been told I had to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pull back on this. There were templates that we were kind of told to follow in this industry. And I thought there was only one or two different templates, and I wasn't fitting in with them, either of them. Then I saw his story, and I started gravitating towards the use of the technologies that JJ's using, and between us we've developed this Fab 5
mentality.
So I watched that yesterday, and I think I have, let's see, it's just that, first of all, like you, I didn't know, I'm an RF engineer.
Yeah.
Is my background.
Yeah.
And we were building cable companies and the big cable build-outs in the 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s. But the thing that I became passionate about was that the finished detail work that is required for a residential guy goes far beyond what I ever saw in any broadcast center.
No.
Or commercial. The only other place I saw that was when we built specific RF here for NASA. Mm-hmm. It literally was, you'd walk into these spaces, and they were using these, at that time, very crude structured enclosures, and and understanding what crossover networks and very sophisticated stuff that just wrung out performance and stabilities that was always a problem for all of us, and certainly a greater problem for people that didn't understand how the system interconnect made. And so there are so many people that they don't understand the value of a trusting relationship with a technology company that can come in and get this stuff so that it performs. And it's incredible the opportunities that homeowners have to interconnect and interact with their world today in all kinds of forms that was never ever really thought of, even short 10 years ago, right? And we're going to see a lot of that stuff on that floor today that's going to maybe take that stuff deeper and broader and and louder and bigger and still be unobtrusive. And
I'm so excited to get out there on that expo
Me
floor
too.
today. I mean, you kind
of become a rock star, though. You guys can't go. You guys want to go from the Lutron booth to the bathroom, and it's an hour and 45 minutes because everybody. Yeah, they're going to show you pictures of this, and realize every head you see bob and walking is somebody that's just like these guys that are investing in in an educational process and a learning exposed mode to say, how can I apply this to my future customers, my current customers, to make their lives better?
One thing that I want to add just real quick is that, I do things different than what that template Gamble that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I would not have done different. I would not have, and it was not intentional of being a disruptor, completely accidental.
Mentioned that word yesterday, yeah.
But what I did was I took everything that I learned from the CEDIA courses and I applied it.
That's the key.
And
that's the key. You take the experience you've gathered and apply it to a new method.
Like Ron Callis, huge influence to me as well, by taking his courses and his presentation and his organization skills. It just was so impactful to me back in the day, and still
he makes it look effortless.
He does.
He makes it look effortless.
Easy.
Yeah.
But his influence in me triggered something that allowed me to be a disruptor, again, unintentionally, but to create something that's unique and different, and, you know, always encouraged me to, how do you separate yourself from the pack? How can you be different but add value? You know,
okay, so this is an interesting dialogue, because essentially the courses that we take are being taught by our competitors. And, and you guys are going to probably get up some point and start teaching as well. I think you guys are probably sharing with the Lutron crowd and stuff. You're sharing with basically your competitors your success story, right? Where does that happen?
Well, the reason I like to share is because I want them to share with me. You know, kind of like what Luke Williams was talking about last night, and I've talked about it in last year when I was on the Lutron panel, is like, I love taking ingredients, information from different people and putting it together and creating my own formula.
Right.
The formula that's right for the people that I service, you know, for my business. I cannot do that as an individual. I think it's so much powerful as an organization to share with one another than try to just do it on your own, you know, and that being that island, you know, it's too hard to do that.
You know, if you go kind of back to the CEDIA ethos here, is that we are in rooms full of people that could be competitors in our same cities, and the generosity that is shared is just amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know where else that would happen.
I'm so happy that there's not one flavor of Bluebell ice cream.
Yeah,
You know, because it just would get boring and, you know, old and stale, right, Gamble? I mean, to have competition is healthy. To have somebody down the road offering something different than I have makes for a good economy. You know, if everybody's selling the same, then what do you have to contrast against?
Right.
You know, so I think it's good.
With that, we could probably expand our catchphrase then. It's, if you don't know, find a home tech pro for your home, for your need.
Yeah.
And there are different pros for different needs, different budgets, different types of projects, different room types. So the message from us every week, Frank, is if you don't know,
Find a home tech pro.